a minute.
Hey everyone, Chris and Tanya here with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal in Southeast Florida. And with us we have Audra and Edgar with R5 Hauling and Junk Removal in Maryland. So,
Hello everyone.
We have actually met at the Sonoma Expo in 2024. We met briefly there. And then prior to that, I basically know you both through YouTube. And we met a little bit at Matt's barbecue afterwards.
Yes.
Yes. Audra, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and your business?
Sure. So, I'm Audra, owner of R5 Hauling and Junk Removal. Well, co-owner now because I added hubby as the 49% owner. So we're going to start doing it together now.
That's exciting. Wow.
Yeah, very excited. Very excited. He's been doing some jobs with me here and there, and he likes the not thinking about things, and just being able to just do physical labor. And so, yeah, but I started it in 2024, January 2024. Long story short, I was a homemaker for 20 years. And then my daughter is in flight school. So I wanted to try and, help out with that financially. And I tried to go back into higher education, which was what my master's degree was in. And no one would hire me because I've been out for 20 years. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, I need to do something on my own. And we were watching videos on how to drive a truck with a trailer because we were taking our wood splitter to my mother-in-law's to split up a tree that she had cut down for her fireplace. And these videos kept popping up from Sonoma Strong about how to make $1,000 a day with a pickup truck. And I was like, So we started watching that. And I said, well, I already have a pickup truck. We could just get a utility trailer and, I could start this. And my husband was watching he started going down the rabbit hole, watching lots of videos. And he was like, okay. So we bought the utility trailer. He put, he's a great engineer. So he built walls on it, made them nice and sturdy, painted them black. Then we put black steel and magnets on it. And I started going to open houses and real estate offices. And that's how I landed my first job. And just kept doing that and posting on social media every single day. And here I am. And before I actually started in January, I had found Sonoma Strong's videos, and then I found Chris's videos. So I was like writing down everything and watching all his videos, like how to move a couch by yourself and, how to move a chair and how to pop off the backs of the recliners, like super, super helpful for when we were first starting out. So, watched all those videos, took notes, studied everything, and off to the races. And here we are a year and some months later.
Now, when you were looking for opportunities, aside from the ease of getting into junk removal, was there any other careers that you were looking at that kind of had your interest, but junk removal just kind of won?
No, it was junk removal. When I look at it, has always been an undercurrent in my life. When my parents lived in one place until I was about 20-ish in college, and then they moved around quite a bit. And every time they would put the house on the market, we would have to declutter and, take stuff to the landfill. And, so I, was really good at that. And then when I came out here to be with my husband, we rented a house from his mom that she had. It was a row home that she had inherited. And it was just like the storage spot for the family. And I cleaned it out and, made it pretty. And then when we moved in with his mom for about a year, she had a laundry room that she could not get to the back door for years. And she was just like, I haven't even opened that back door because there's so much stuff in there. And I said, I can clear it out in one day. She didn't believe me, But we did. We started at 7 in the morning, and by 3, we had that entire room cleared and everything to the landfill and done. So and then my own house, like every December, I go through and every single room gets a deep clean, donate stuff, take stuff to the landfill. And, every so many months, I just clean and I enjoy it. I love the feeling of taking something from totally messy, totally cluttered to nice and organized and clean. It just gives you such a, like a fresh mental perspective. And just, when you wake up in a room that's been freshly cleaned and organized and all, it's a nice feeling. So it's always been there. I've always been good at it. It's what I've always done. So when those videos came up, I just felt like, this is what I need to do. And plus, quite a few years back, when he had first gotten me a pickup truck, I said, I'm going to just put some ads on Craigslist and do some junk removal and just take people's trash and see what I could do. And I made $300 in one day. But at the time, he was just like, I don't want you doing that by yourself. And I don't want you hauling people's trash. So I, put it aside. But, then I remembered as I started this back up, like, oh, yeah, I did do that. So, I like cleaning.
Good reminder.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
I was about to ask Edgar, what'd you think of everything going into it? But it sounds like you were a little hesitant at first. What kind of got you to be a little bit more open about it?
Well, I guess as she explained, I was initially hesitant, probably because I just didn't want her to do anything by herself and maybe get hurt. I had bought her that first 1500 Silverado because she was going through the Maryland New Farmer training program. So she was, hauling fertilizer and supplies for her gardening and for, the farming. She and I had started going hunting with a mentor of hers that she had met in there. And you can't go I had an R30. Well, I still have it. It's in the garage. But I had a Volkswagen R32. At the time, I think Audra had a Jetta GLI, and you can't really take those hunting.
No.
You can't throw a deer in the back of your Volkswagen. So I bought the Silverado that she calls John Henry, the black one, and
love that.
So she was able to do a lot with that, and I said, well, she has that as an asset. She has that as something that she can do this with, and as she explained. Neither one of us knew how to drive a trailer. The only experience I had with driving a trailer is I wanted to use my brother's Sea-Doo. He had a watercraft, a personal watercraft that I took down to Virginia Beach one time. But that's orders of magnitude different than a trailer for junk removal. So now she's graduated. I bought her the 2500 HD. The big Silverado she calls Goliath, the big green machine. Mm-hmm. And my son is really happy because we got the dump trailer. So now instead of having to touch everything twice, he just gets to sit there and press the button. So it's just, I like supporting my wife. I like, this isn't just, I know my wife and I know it's not just a hobby. It's something that she's really serious about. And I want to make sure she's successful in every way that I can help her be. And she mentioned it. She mentioned something about it. I've been in IT on or off since I was, I started working at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center when I was like 16 years old. I was working as a junior data tech. So that was like 1988. It's 2025. My brain's getting a little tired of it pays really well. It's a great, I have my own business. That I funnel my work through for tax purposes, but I don't know whether it's just having dealt with the federal government for so long, but I'm getting a little tired of it. My brain is maybe at 53 years old, my brain is just, from 16 to 53 is just tired. And as I described helping her, most people say, oh, well, you got a great, IT job and pays really well, and you get to work in an air-conditioned building. That's great, but I'm telling you, after a while, most people will tell me I'm crazy, you just get tired of it. You just get tired of using your brain all the time and everybody coming to you and wanting 5 different things in 5 directions all the time. I mean, Tanya, I think you
Yeah. I was gonna say I totally understand what you're
yeah,
saying.
professional offices, and it's
Yeah.
when you're an IT person. Like I just had a discussion with one of my colleagues. He is with the prime contractor, because I'm a subcontractor. And he said, Edgar, we were just surprised when we saw your monthly reports and saw that you were taking care of 7 high performance computing clusters by yourself. And yet the customer was still saying, can he do more? So yeah, long story short, not to ramble, I'm tired, and I would love to be able to help my wife more and more. So we're trying to
Yeah.
build the business up really big so that we can take my oldest son hates his job, and he's really a great asset when he's been able to help Audra with her jobs, her really big ones. So
Yeah.
we'd like to bring him on full time. The ultimate goal that I'd like to get to is that we can all come on full time. I'm not good at driving a trailer, so I'd like
Audra
to
is.
an F450 dump truck. We've already looked at some, and
Okay.
so
Wow.
Solomon and I, my oldest son, would be on the dump truck since I can actually drive that. Audra and Aaron would be on Goliath and Big Boy, her new rig, and then we could grow from there.
That's amazing. And also to say congratulations because you are past a year for the business, a year and change. So that's a really big accomplishment. You've grown so much within that short period of time. And so you could definitely see the hard work and to really bring, Edgar on full time too. That just means that it's just only going to get better and bigger. And I know exactly what you mean, Edgar. I haven't worked half as much as you have, to be honest. And my brain was tired too of all the needs of other people to stuff that just didn't seem important anymore. And it really went from like, okay, here's a 6-figure salary, I'm doing well. It's an office job. It's pretty cushy. Still a lot of work, don't get me wrong, a lot of mental, but you're putting so much mental time into something that at the end of the day, just I lost passion for it. And I feel like you did too. And so working with Chris, it's a different mindset and trying to be creative, and it's fun, and you still get to work with customers, you still have clients, you still have all these things, but because it's going directly into your own funnel, it just feels more rewarding. And it is a break mind wise, because at the end of the day, you're bringing a service to someone, but it's a service you choose to do. And so I totally understand that thought process. I had the same thing, and I was really scared, moving on to from a steady paycheck every 2 weeks now, to something where like if the month doesn't do well, we don't do well. And so, but realizing like you have to make the jump. And once you start putting all that energy into something that is your own, it's going to naturally get better. And I see Audra as like, online presence is top notch. Like, I wish, I'm jealous sometimes because I'm like, oh my God, she's always posting the most like amazing posts that are really nice, and they look good and professional, and they say the right things, and you're definitely like a sorcerer when it comes to your online presence. And I mean,
Thank you.
This isn't a question we had, kind of set, but I do want to take a quick second to talk about Hauling Honeys, because, that was kind of your baby to start with. And I thought that was, especially as a woman in a male dominant industry, it was definitely something I think that everyone wanted. And like we always had this like hurrah, for the women-owned businesses. They shouted it out at Junk Expo. I know Forget About It does a lot of work with a lot of women-owned or women co-owned companies. And so, do you want to talk a little bit about, Hall and Honeys and how you decided like, let me just pull the trigger and get it going, and what your vision is for the future?
Yeah, it's still new. It's still kind of quiet. As a matter of fact, I didn't even post in it this week. But, there's all these wonderful, junk mobile forums. There's the Sonoma Strong one, and there's Matt Fitch's, and they're wonderful, and I love them. They're great. They have been wonderful resources for me with tips, what to do, what not to do. But I just felt like I wanted a space just for women in this business because, like you said, it's very male dominated, and we deal with things that men in the industry just aren't going to deal with. You know, one of the questions I get all the time when I go to do estimates is, you know, okay, but who does the work?
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, I do. And they see my son, they're like, oh, okay, but your son does most of it. Like, no, he and I equally together lift couches, do the work, you know. So, and then when they see us both, they're just like, wow, you know, but it's just, I felt like I needed a space for women to just connect with each other, cheer each other on, have that space to when we deal with the sexism, whatever, that we can just go in there, vent. It's a safe space, you know, away from the male gaze, and just build each other up.
I feel
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, you know, and they're like, you know, I'm not a feminist or anything like that. It's just that, you know, the things that I have dealt with personally being in the business, you know, because whenever I go to networking events, it's always like, oh, so is it a franchise? No, it's not a franchise. Well, who owns it? I own it. You do? You do junk removal? You know, it's always like they're so shocked
Yeah.
that, you know, a woman is doing it. And then you add my age in on top of that, and they're just like, wow, aren't you kind of old to be starting a junk removal business? Is very, you know,
Straight out ask that. Wow.
they're like, it's very physically, you know, it's labor intensive, you know, very physically demanding. You sure you want to do that? So, you know, I just needed a space that was just for us to, you know, commiserate about things and to share tips and tricks and, you know, just business advice and resources that we come across that we can share with each other that will help us to be, you know, stronger business owners, but also to help us keep a balance between work and, you know, personal life. Because when you're an entrepreneur, those lines get muddied very quickly.
They do. And I have to say, like, just, you know, it's been out for, I think, at least a couple of months now, like 2, 3, you know, and it's been such a great resource to have and an outlet, even if you're not posting a lot. Just like there's always positivity, and it's nice because, not to say anything else, there's no drama, which is beautiful.
Right.
Like, it's really just women supporting other women in their business and talking about ideas and growth and, you know, really talking through. And I see that everyone is so supportive, which is a nice change from like just Facebook groups in general. Sometimes you'll see even like your neighborhood group is talking like smack. And so it's great to have this outlet where it's all good vibes, support, really strong, you know, women who have great questions, great advice. And so I was really excited that you and Kim is a big part of it. And so it's honestly a great thing that you started. So I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, that's one of the things those are two of the rules that I had, was no drama and no pettiness.
Yes.
You know, for the group rules. It's just like, this is a place where we're coming to build each other up. We can vent about stuff that's going on, but then after we vent, we need to do something positive behind it. You know, okay, now we've vented, what's the solution? You know, so yeah.
And we'll need to talk in the future about actual meetup or some sort, you know.
I'm hoping we can all get together, you know, at the expo and just have like a little women's, you know, gathering if there's time.
You can do that while all the guys go fishing.
Yeah. Matt's getting all the guys to go fishing, so all the girls should go get sushi.
Yeah.
We'll just eat.
Yeah. Yes.
Catch.
Yes. That's awesome.
So since you're talking about the women's group, I've noticed a slight change just at least on YouTube. Like, I don't know what happens outside of YouTube because the different states, you know, if it's not publicized, you don't know. But how would you say you've noticed the change in women-owned businesses in junk removal, at least? As far as, have you noticed it kind of happening more often, or are you just seeing it a little bit more often because it's more, and not necessarily like just purely women-owned, but even if it's like a co-owner situation, husband, wife, have you been seeing that kind of pop up more often now that you're in the industry and you're more focused on junk removal as you see it?
I feel like I've been a little bit more aware. Like there's JT Junk Solutions. They're a husband and wife team. Of course, there's Matt and JoJo. We know Denise. Then there's Kim, who's in our group, and then there's the women in the Holland Honeys. But
Sarah.
I don't run across it that often, which is another reason why I started the group, because I wanted women to know that we are out here in the industry as well, and that we can do this. So, but I can't say that I see a whole lot of it. There are a couple, I think, of my subscribers that subscribed and sent me private messages saying, "Hey, it's so good to see another woman in junk removal." I forget where they're located, but 2 women did reach out to me, but it's not common. There's
definitely an uptick, but it's still pretty uncommon for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you see it evolving even more in the future, or do you think it's going to kind of come up as a trend and then kind of die back out? Because I've noticed in moving in a nice way, a female mover wasn't very common. Woman, sorry. If they came in, they were gone in a week. They just weren't fond of it, I guess. I could see a lot of people getting into junk removal because it is an easier startup, and there's not a lot to really invest into it, and it's an easy get out as well. So I think as people see, like, oh, she does it, I could do it, but then they get into it and realize, this kind of sucks. Let's leave it to the other people. Do you see that becoming more of kind of more of women getting into it, or do you think it's going to kind of just continue to be kind of scarce since it is predominantly a male industry?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I can't speak for other regions, but that was one of the other things that motivated me to. I mean, she's my wife, so I'm going to support her no matter what. But I did the research as far as the demographics as far as our area, and Matt and JoJo were saying that they had it's like 25 or 30 competitors, and they had a total potential market of like 600,000 people. I don't know if you've ever been up in this area, but there's a density of a lot of people. Just in the 3 counties that that surround us, there's close to 2 million people. So I said there's definitely a market, and there's pretty much Big Blue and some other smaller ones. But and some advice that Matt gave that's pretty valuable is that if you see Big Blue in a market, it's kind of like how the dynamic between McDonald's and Burger King.
Yeah.
We always noticed as kids is that wherever there was a McDonald's, Burger King showed up. You know why? Because McDonald's had already spent the millions of dollars to do the market research to find out that was a great location. And Burger King is like, okay, close, so we don't have to spend the money.
Yeah.
I think there are going to be around our way. There's going to be like Chuck with a truck and Paul with a pickup. There's going to be those types that are going to be the ones that are going to be willing to do things super cheap, but they don't last. And that's why I tell Audra, I mean, Matt even said part of his advice, if you're winning all your jobs, you're not charging enough.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not losing half of your bids, you need to up your prices because you do not want to. And Audra's got her pitch pretty, down pat. When someone says, "Oh, well, that's too much money," she says, "Oh, okay, well, I'm sorry." And Aaron is he starts walking. Aaron starts walking back to the truck.
That's great.
As soon as he hears somebody raising up the price, he's already on the way back to the truck because he's like, "You're wasting our time. Time is money."
Yeah.
And it's just if someone tries to haggle, it's like, no, the price is the price. We've done extremely detailed and careful research to come up with a competitive price that covers the cost because Chuck with a truck or Pablo with a pickup or whatever doesn't have to cover insurance, commercial insurance. He doesn't have to cover, all of the expenses And there's a lot of illegal dumping that happens too. So they don't even have to pay the dump fees.
Yeah.
So if you want to deal with a legitimate business that's going to take care of you, that's going to provide you a professional quote, that's going to have insurance that covers if anything happens, then you're going to want to deal with something like R5. If you're looking for one of the funny encounters was, she did a bid for somebody that needed something moved, and then he said, "Oh, okay, well, I could just do that. That's too expensive. I can just do that with my truck." And it's like, "Okay, well, go ahead and do that."
Yeah,
If you have a
I get
truck,
that.
why are you calling me?
Exactly.
You're calling me because you don't feel like doing it. How much is your time worth?
Yeah.
So that's where that is. And when Audra sometimes gets discouraged, I always tell her that's not your customer,
Yeah.
and you don't want to deal with them anyway. If you want the customer that has the disposable income and values their time and wants you to solve their problems for you. You're a problem solver. You're like an engineer. This the textbook definition or dictionary definition of an engineer. You solve problems. I was like, see yourself as an engineer. You solve people's problems. They can either afford it and are willing to pay for it, or they're not your customer.
I do see a lot of people getting into junk removal. They're popping up everywhere now. You know, and that worries me a little bit. I don't see, there's only one other junk hauler in all of my networking meetings though. So that's good. But I see them all over the place. Like the signs are popping up all over the place. But you know, it's just,
I don't see longevity.
I only see 3 that are actually probably going to last. And I'm not even sure how long they're going to last. So, you know, it's interesting to see because everybody's getting into junk removal now. It's like trending.
So. Yeah. Like Chris said, it's an easy in, easy out, you know, business at the end of the day, even though there's a lot to it. And I think what you guys said, I hear a lot of people on, especially Facebook or social media or YouTube, talking about like, you know, the price and should I negotiate? Should I do this? And I think what you guys said is know your worth. You know, and stick to your price at the end of the day. You did the research. You know what it costs to maintain your business, and you know what's fair compared to other, you know, reliable companies. Maybe not the guy off the street that'll do it for $40, but for another licensed and insured, you know, company that's going to come in uniform, that's going to be, you know, a respectable, that's going to not be smoking cigarettes and throwing butts on your property. So at the end of the day, you'll always have customers who are like, I'll just YouTube it and do it myself. And that's always going to happen.
Stick to your guns. I mean, we had one that on a job that I helped her with. We went all the way over there. I mean, because she likes to do in-person estimates because she doesn't, you know, photographs don't really show everything. She gave him the quote. It was a very fair quote. And he said, something of the sorts of like, oh, some moving company said that they would
do it for
$150 and they'd keep it on the truck or something like that. So I shook his hand. Audra shook his hand. She gave him a business card and said, okay, well, I would go with that. That's a bargain. And you have a great day. And if you ever need anything in the future, here's a business card. Give us a call. We couldn't even back halfway out of his driveway before he called us and said, we changed his mind. I changed my mind. We really need your help. Can you come back? So Audra backed the trailer back into his driveway, and we did the job inside of 10, 15 minutes.
And I think he was trying to feel me out. He was, you know, he was hoping that I was going to haggle, and I don't do it. I don't get nasty, but when they don't like my price, I just say, okay, well, I understand, but here's my card. If you change your mind, you know, I'm happy to come back out and help you. You know, and I said the estimate's good for, you know, it's good indefinitely. It's not, you know, gonna change in price. So
I can be more short, but I'm never unprofessional. My wife knows me. But when I hear that, it's kind of like how I've dealt in IT when I've bid on IT projects. Oh, Ed, we want you to build the supercomputer for us, but can you do it for like $1,000? No, I can't do that. But you have a great day. And
no, it's a complete sentence.
You have a great day. And if you ever change your mind, let me know. And 99 times out of 100, they realize in hindsight how ridiculous they were being, and then they call you back and they need the help. And then
or they don't call you back and you're just like, okay, on to
Move
the
on.
yeah, you know, but the times that I've gotten called back, I'd go in there and I work hard and I do a great job. And then you build what can become a lifelong client. But your initial interaction could be a little rough. But once I think once they get that initial thing of like, no, we can't play around with these people. They're serious. They're a serious business, and they don't negotiate. And then they say, okay, well, yeah, no, you're right. That is a fair price. And then we move on. So I tell anybody else out there that's listening right now, stick, just like Matt says, he's the man's been in it for like 7-8 years. He's not an idiot. Stick to your guns, stick to your price, throw out the price, and they either say yes or no. And if they say no, you are professional and you move on, because time is money. Move on to the next job that actually pays.
It took me a while to like. Chris is really good at that. Like I'll hear him on the phone with the customers. This is the price, you know, and great. And I'm like, well, you know, could we maybe like knock off a couple of bucks? That was how it definitely was in the beginning, and it took me a bit to learn how to not like I trust his judgment. I know what he sees, and so me just learning. I know a lot of people ask like, well, how much would you guys charge for this? And I wasn't someone going in right away, knowing how much I would charge for a room or something. Audra, how did you learn how to do estimates when you started the business?
I watched a lot of Matt's videos, and I took notes. Chris had quite a few videos on how to price it out. I'm still not great with the visual. You know, Chris would say, look at it, break it down into washing machines, you know, and that kind of thing. But I just started, you know, looking at the room and just guesstimating like, okay, I think this is going to be, you know, a quarter load, or this is going to be a half load. And my son, who always comes with me, he's excellent at it. He can look and he's just like, that's a quarter load. That's a half load. That's a 3/4 load. So, you know, in the beginning, I kind of deferred to him and would just, you know, when we were giving a price, he would whisper to me, he would say half load, quarter load. It's like, okay. And then I just started learning from doing it that, you know, what it looked like. And, you know, now I've had to adjust because now I have my dump trailer. So it's bigger than my utility trailer. So I'm readjusting to, you know, to the prices, to the how much fits in, but I'm getting better at it. So I just jumped in with both feet, you know, and just eyeballed it. And, you know, like Matt said, you make mistakes and then you learn from it and then you don't make that mistake again. So
is there a quick time you can remember to when you like underbid a job by a lot, and did you have to like tell the customer like, hey, it's actually more than I expected, or did you keep the price the same?
I had a clean out that I had only gotten one 20-yard dumpster because I was going to be taking stuff to the landfill and donating as well. So I was like, 120-yard should do it. Well, then the garage filled up like 3/4 of that 20 yards. So I had to get another 12-yard. But I didn't charge them extra for it because it was my mistake. So I just let her know. I was like, listen, I'm getting another 12-yard because I misjudged. But I was like, I just want you to know when you come and you see it here, I'm not charging you for it. It's on my dime. But I do have to get another one because it was more stuff than I thought. You know, so when I make mistakes like that, I don't really like to I don't like to charge the customer, you know, because that's my mistake. And I feel like that builds goodwill because they're like, well, why do I have to pay for your mistake? You know? So
exactly. Yeah. I agree.
So Audra, Alex asked a question, and I kind of want us both to answer it, if you can see it on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, if you advertise on Facebook, how long have your results been? I hear Facebook marketing doesn't have the best results. Now, I don't know if he's referring to ads or if he's referring to just Facebook marketing in general, but probably you are very active on Facebook just in general. Mm-hmm. So is there anything you want to comment on that?
I did an ad, I think back in January, for like 7 days. It got me more followers, but I didn't get any jobs from it. I just started another ad today that is going to run for 7 days. and I'm going to see how this one does. Because I made the format a little bit different based on what JT Junk Solutions, they made some recommendations. So I kind of tweaked it to my branding and just literally just started it like an hour ago. So I'm going to see how that works, you know, and see what it does. But as far as the posting on Facebook, I would say Facebook is probably my second, excuse me, my second largest pipeline. Real estate agents are my first.
Smart.
And then my other jobs come from people who see me posting in Facebook groups, because I post every single day on Facebook. They're starting to clamp down some now, a lot of the groups. Some have only a certain day a week you can post. Other ones didn't have any rules. So I would post something every day in the ones that would allow me, but I would always make it different. I never did the same thing every single day. I always did a different post. But some of them are starting to clamp down on that, but I still post on my personal and business Facebook pages and Instagram and LinkedIn and Alignable and Nextdoor every day. So, but Facebook is, like I said, that's my second largest pipeline.
Okay. I would say for us, a combination of Facebook and Nextdoor is probably about 25% of our new jobs. And by new, I mean like not a referral, not a repeat client. So what I think I've maybe tried ads once for like a week just to see what they were like, and probably didn't get anything out of it. I also probably did it wrong too. So not to be anyone to not do that. Right. I've been doing this since day one. We don't really post in groups just because ours in their area are probably just so saturated that they just ban it. And I've been kicked out of a group even though I followed all the rules correctly. So I just don't even bother. What we do is we'll join all of our local groups in our county, and people will ask for recommendations for doctors and contractors and painting services and this and that. And we'll comment anybody we know from our networking groups, which is a great way to refer out business. And then if it makes even remotely sense, we'll comment our business as well. So for example, if someone's looking for a painter, I say, hey, we know a great painter. We'll reference a guy from a networking group. By the way, if you need any junk removal before or after your project, here's our information. Or if someone's looking for a mover, that's a perfect opportunity because they go hand in hand. So we'll comment our information. If someone's looking for, moving boxes, I'll say, hey, we do junk removal. Every now and then we get some clean ones. I'll keep an eye out. Here's where you can go in the meantime if you need for free. If you want to pay for them, here's a few I would recommend for quality over value. And then if you need to declutter it all, here's our information. And that's really just, I call it fishing. Not
Let's go fishing.
Yeah, not Matt's fishing, because I don't like fishing. But I call it fishing in a sense where every time you comment on something, you're casting out a line. And it may get absolutely no attention at all, and you reel it back in. You might cast a line out, you get a couple of nibbles as people asking questions, but maybe like an estimate doesn't go through. And you might cast it out, you catch a fish, and you get to go home with it, and that's you booking a job. So it's a patience game, it's a long-term game, but it's a volume game. So the more you comment, the more you can be out there without just, flat out. Like there's people on Nextdoor that would do a same copy and paste message every single day. And my 1099 mover sends me screenshots. He's like, this guy is so fucking annoying every single day. He's 10 times a day. And I feel like that's the post that people get annoyed about. But if you're just putting out maybe a post with a fun fact, or hey, if you need to dispose of American flags, here's where you can go. So it's still helpful, it's still advertising, but it's not annoying.
Right.
That's just something that we've found to be pretty helpful.
Yeah, the commenting on other posts, like not even people just looking for something, but just kind of commenting and getting your name, known is really helpful. We get a lot of jobs that they'll be like, oh, I saw you guys on Nextdoor. I saw a cute picture. I saw you on Facebook. Today, the job we did today, they saw, I believe, us on Nextdoor, and they went to the website and she was like, I actually chose you because of me, because a woman was on there. And so I think, while it's definitely, there's some hardships, in the industry, I think sometimes it's nice because it makes you stick out. So people sometimes go with you even more so. Yeah.
Yeah.
India's asking.
Yeah,
Kind of groups.
Indio asked what kind of groups. If that's Indio in California, I've actually been there when I was 18. My best friend at high school was from there. So for you, I know San Diego isn't like in your territory, but it's the closest major city I can think of because that's where we landed. In San Diego, you should be able to find like a San Diego group, and then whatever subsidies are around
Local
it,
groups.
they're literally local groups.
Yeah, like if you know the names of your neighborhoods or cities, like for me, there's Annapolis, so I belong to Annapolis Moms Group, or like the neighborhood the neighborhood names, like there's Mago Vista community, and I have a lot of customers there, so I belong to the Mago Vista group. There's the Cape St. Clair, which they're like on the peninsula, and there's Annapolis, there's Arnold, there's Severna Park. So all these different little neighborhoods have neighborhood Facebook groups, and so I'm a member of a lot of them, and I go and post whenever businesses are allowed to post. And I do try to also just if someone asks for a recommendation of something and I know a recommendation, I'll give it. Or if somebody recommends something that I didn't know about, I'm like, wow, thanks, that's really great, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, you're putting your name out there.
Yeah.
And I even see like it's not always, but we get sometimes like if you know people in like marketplace selling, but they're trying to like sell out, like clean out a house or last minute garage sale or things like that. We've even gone so far as say like, oh, looks like a great sale. If there's anything left over that you're unable to give or donate or need help donating or selling, that's what we do, especially with realtors listing homes. I know some people I've seen do this, go on Realtor and look at like the really bad pictures of houses with just a ton of stuff and just reach out to the realtor, maybe not specifically about that house, but just in general, like, we're local. And we do a lot of house cleanouts, especially last minute when the client isn't able to do it on themselves. And so those are definitely, you have to get creative, and they're not going to just, up your business by like 40%, but it's good filler work. And it's great for when you're slow to kind of go out and find those unique ways, because once you get a client, a lot of our business repeat too. So once we get that client and they like us and they know us, that just grows our business even that more, because they'll use us again or they'll refer us to a friend or a family member.
Yep, for sure.
Indio just said it's just a name. He's in Tempo.
Sorry, Andy.
So Tempo is even better because we're in Florida too. We're just southeast. Go on Facebook, look at groups, type in Tempa, and you're bound to find all of your little subsidies around you.
The Buy Nothing page isn't the greatest to like find customers, because usually they're on that page because they want free stuff, so they don't want to pay. But every now and then you'll find people who are like trying to give away a lot, and you could tell it's like really bad stuff. So every now and then you'll get one of those. So the Buy Nothing pages are really good for the county.
And a lot of times I'll like there are a couple that I belong to, and I joined and specifically said, listen, I don't want to be bothered with selling stuff. So when I have things that are really nice and, for whatever reasons, Restore or Value Village won't take it, I'd love to bring it here to this group. And that actually got me a job from a woman who was just like, I admire that you do that. And I had gotten a job that way. So, it's good to just even take stuff and give it away sometimes and not sell it, because then people remember that. And then, you can get jobs that way too.
Nice.
Definitely. Tanya has
say hi to Andrew.
Andrew just popped in. Hi, Andrew.
Andrew, like Autopilot Andrew?
Yes, Autopilot Andrew.
Oh, hi, Andrew.
He already answered. You talked a little bit about, and so, I mean, one of my questions he kind of answered already, but it was talking like, as a Black woman-owned business, in a predominantly male industry, do you ever run into certain biases, about you when booking jobs, which you kind of answered, but I guess, would you say with experience it's gotten more, like, do you still have it a lot, or do you feel like, it's with more women joining the industry too. Has it gotten better? People are like, oh, I've seen a lot of other.
No, because like all the networking groups I go to, like I said, there's only one other hauler that's in my circles, and he's a man, and I am the only woman junk hauler that's in my networking groups. But I get the, is it a franchise? No, it's not a franchise.
Yeah.
It's my business. Oh, you own it. Really?
Yes.
One guy, he was really kind of blatant with it at the networking group. He was like, what do you mean you own it? And I was like, I don't know how else to explain that. I own it.
Well, the guy Ronaldo she's talking about, that's an interesting character. I went to a dinner or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a Maryland Investors Group.
Maryland Investors Group, and I was her plus one. And this guy was mean mugging me the whole time I walked in. I don't know whether he was trying to size me up to see, like, is that her partner? I'm like, yeah, I'm her partner, and I'm her partner in life. But I gave him like 3 seconds to back up, but then I started mean mugging him back.
Yeah.
Like, if you're here to mess with my wife, man.
Good for you.
Yeah, because he's a mover.
Yeah.
And he didn't start doing junk removal until I came into the networking group, and he like made a beeline for me. It was like, you should find your own networking group, and someplace where you don't have any competition. And I was like, what competition? And he's like, well, junk removal. I was like, there's one other guy in here that does junk removal. He's like, well, I do junk removal. I'm like, but you're a mover.
Yeah.
That added junk removal recently. It's not specifically what you do. I do 100% junk removal. That's what I do. But yeah, he's so threatened by me, and I don't know why. Because I even tried to explain, like, look, there's millions of people in these surrounding counties. There's more than enough business for all of us. But
exactly.
Yeah. But
to spread around.
Yeah. So I get that, and I get you're a woman, you're an old woman, you're because they see my gray hair, or they
I have gray hair.
They see how old my kids are, and they're just like, well, you're an old woman, and you're doing this, and it's just like, or I get the whole you're so articulate thing,
Yeah, that's one of those. Yes.
Yeah.
Biden and Obama.
Yeah. So it's like,
I got recently, someone was like, I was telling them, who we are. And she was like, oh, is your like boss around? Can I talk to them? And I was like, yeah, I'm the boss. It's just so funny that you automatically do.
Oh, yes, I can talk.
Yeah. It's so funny. Someone next to me, Chris wasn't like near me, but someone else was next to me. She's like, why would you think she's not? And so it's so interesting to like react to those things because, you're trying your best to keep your professionalism, but also set them straight. Here's how it is. So I'm sure that will never change, but it seems like you have a good response to it. And
I mean, I'm 54, almost 55. I've been dealing with that kind of, sadly, I've been dealing with racism all of my life. My husband, I grew up in New Jersey, and my husband, the stories I tell him sometimes, he's like, are you sure you didn't grow up in Alabama?
Mississippi.
But, so sometimes it catches me off guard, but, it's just like, I don't have time for it. I know what I want to do. I have dreams. I have goals. I'd like to move into a little bit bigger house. I want to build my business. So, for me, the mentality is it might take me off guard at first, but then I'm just like, move or be moved. That's my mentality. I don't have time for the small mindedness.
That's one of the pluses that I'm looking forward to of being able to be out there in the field with her. Because
he's big and scary.
Well, I've noticed people tend to mess with my wife because she's really little. She's only like 5'2", they have a different attitude when they realize that the lioness has a lion. Mm-hmm. So, that's why that's the analogy I use. I said, there's a different attitude. Now, I don't jump in. I'm not going to talk over her. I'm not going to do anything. I just look and I'm like, I'm in the background. If you need my help, let me know.
That's awesome.
Most times my Jersey girl comes out though, and I'm just like, let's go.
So like I said, I'm there to help if she needs my help. And then, but you know,
most times just his presence keeps people from like, messing with me because he's there. Like you said, the lioness has a lion. Yeah. So yeah.
I will say it's nice, like, because not only is it like a woman and a man, it's a team, right? So you're always going to get people who give you a little pushback when you're by yourself and feel like they can kind of, I don't want to say abuse, but like abuse the situation, versus when it's like a duo, there's like, they can get away with less, even though you could be as strong as you want. They'll feel automatically like they can get away with less. So I do want to talk more about like the direction of the business and growth and things like that. You talked about some of your goals, but I'll let Chris kind of divert and ask some of his questions.
Well, I mean, mine are more not so much like marketing related and stuff. Same thing you kind of did with Andrew. But since you guys are a couple kind of working together as well, for the most part, how do you manage your work-life balance? Because it's one thing to, Edgar, you go to your job, Audra goes to her job, and you kind of meet in the middle. But when you're the business owner, you have calls coming in even at 8, 9 o'clock at night, maybe when you're out to dinner, or maybe a new lead comes in and now you're researching that, or, you have an idea for marketing and you're over here trying to do this, or you're doing social media. Like it's always circulating. So what's something that you guys do together to help with the work-life balance?
What do we do together?
we do date night. We there's time that, I kind of pushed for something that I kind of pushed for her to change her hours to 7 to 7, because before she used to have 24/7 on her website, and I said, she'll pick up the phone just like Matt said, pick up the phone whenever it rings. But I said you should put 7 to 7 on your website. That is very accommodating. But it also allows for some separation for us to spend time together. Because we're kind of in the stage of our lives. We got started, Solomon was born when I was 23, so we got started really early, and so we're kind of finishing up while we're still relatively young and ambulatory. So I said, we need to spend more time with it. It's not us and the kids. I love my children, but I'm ready to be married people. Hang out with my wife. And even though this is our 5 and it's our whole family, Audra and I need time to spend together. Just us.
Yeah. And we try to do things like we'll turn simple things into like a date. Like if I need to go to the grocery store and he's not, on the clock with work, I'm like, you want to go to the grocery store with me? And we go to the grocery store and we just, we have a date. Or, when he has a haircut, I'll drive him and, be his Uber. And, we just, that little bit of time that we have driving to him from the barbershop, or
it adds up.
It doesn't have to necessarily be, like the other day, I just said, come on, let's go to the Point. It's this really nice restaurant. It's on the water. I was like, let's just go. Let's just get out the house. Because we had a lot of our barber just got killed in the head-on collision. So we were both kind of floored by that. And I was just like, we need to get out of the house. So we went to the Point and sat on the water and ate, so we try to take ordinary things and, turn them into dates, or just, quality time. Or sometimes it's, just laying in bed watching a movie, although I fall asleep. But
all the time. When I look over and she's like,
yeah, and then he's like, what just happened? I'm like, what just happened? You don't need to ask me. You're watching the movie. Are you paying attention? Why are you asking me? Like, we just try to find little ways to just spend time together, and
we've been together for the better part of 3 decades. So you gotta, and we've got pretty hectic lives.
Yeah.
I'm actually, that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. I'm closing down my business and consolidating it with Audra so we can concentrate on one thing instead of our efforts being split. So that's kind of our more togetherness too.
Yeah. That's great.
And one of the weird things that we like, we're always together. You know, when we go out places, you know, everybody, you know, people are just like, oh, you know, men have their men time, women have their women time. And there's nothing wrong with that. But my husband and I actually like hanging out together. Like we do everything together pretty much, you know, so, and we enjoy it. And people are just like, how do you enjoy that? You guys are always together. Because he's my best friend. Like if I'm not with him, then I'm always like texting him, you know, like if I see something cool or heard something interesting, I'm texting him or he texts me. So we like being together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Goals. So now we're getting kind of like on the hour point. So before I ask this, because I really want to talk more about this, I did want to quickly note, I know you've been like on a health journey over the past like time, and I'm nosy and wanted to know a little bit more about like what's going on, what started it, because I think that's awesome, you know, to hear about. So if you don't mind.
Well, let's just say menopause is a bitch. And I was petite all of my life, even after having, you know, we have 3 children,
Yes.
2 together, and then my oldest is my stepson, though I don't call him that because he's been with me since he was a year old. But even after I gave birth to my 2 children, I was like 135 pounds. I was looking good. And then I hit like 45 and stuff's like, my belly just started to pack on the fat. No matter what I did, keto, fasting, nothing worked. I just kept getting bigger. And I hit 210 pounds. And I've never been that heavy in my life. And even doing junk removal, you know, last year, even as physical as that was, I still was weighing in at 210, 209. And, you know, my doctors, I did all the blood work, all the hormone stuff, everything came back normal. They were like, it's just menopause. Then I found a woman who focuses on exercises specifically for menopause women, and not diet, but a food lifestyle where she focuses on making sure you get enough protein plus vegetables and fruits. And I work out 5 days a week it's a mix of cardio and weight training. And then I do yoga after that for women over 50. And it's just like 10 minutes a day, just to, you know, different exercises to keep myself limber and flexible. But I've lost 11 pounds so far. I'm down to 198. And it's coming off slow.
Yeah.
And I'm getting really frustrated with the scale, but there's an app called Me360, and it takes scans of your body. And when I get discouraged, I do scans so I can see I've lost about 4 inches in my waist so far, and about 2 inches off my thighs. My arms are bigger, but I've got muscle. So, you know, I just needed to get this weight off. When I look at the YouTube videos of myself, I can, like, when I walk upstairs, like, I can feel the weight on me. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world to go to doctors and have them tell you, well, just stop eating all the soul food. Like, they make assumptions, like, and I'm like, I don't eat soul food. Is something we eat Christmas
and
Thanksgiving. That's it. You know, because he's diabetic. So I'm always making him special meals, and I usually just eat whatever I make him. So, you know, when I tell my doctors, they're like, well, you must be cheating. I'm like, no, I'm not cheating. So I found this. I take in my protein. I eat 3 meals a day. And that helps I guess that's helping to kickstart, you know, my metabolism back up. And so, you know, it's just, I just want to look in the mirror and like my body again. And this seems to be helping. So.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that, because that's really cool, and that's a great journey. I think it'll be awesome seeing you, and I totally get what you mean when I thought joining like junk removal, going from like a job where you sit all the time, you know, especially for me, to a job where like you're moving all the time, that would be enough. But it's definitely not. Chris and I are working on trying to, you know, especially when you're out all day on the truck, it's easy to go into bad habits of eating and,
Mhm.
eating out and things like that. You're tired, it's labor
Yeah.
intensive, but trying
Mhm.
to still make sure you're doing good whole foods
Yeah.
and, trying to get the right meals in, because there will be days I just don't eat, like we do an all day job
Yeah.
and pack
It's a
anything.
struggle.
So
Mhm.
it's definitely, I think it's hurtful when that happens. And so making sure you eat properly still and you fuel yourself with good foods is
Right.
important. So that's an awesome journey for you. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm hoping that by the time I'm at the Junk Expo, my goal is to be at least down to 160, if
Oh
not
yeah.
150. So we'll see. But I will definitely look different from the last time I was there.
Slower is better too, because
Yeah.
that stays off versus
Yeah.
just that quick, fast.
Less rebound.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I try to focus on when I get discouraged. That's my husband will say, he's like, but you look different. He's like, your body composition is changing, and that's more important than the weight, than the number on the scale. And he's right, because my jeans are starting to be more loose in the waist and in the thighs, and I'm not jiggling as much when I because I told him when I got to my heaviest, I said, I don't, you guys are probably too young to know, but there's an old TV show called Give Me a Break, and Nell Carter, she's this huge Black woman, and she was a maid, and when she would walk, everything would just bounce.
Tickle, tickle.
Yeah. And like she would actually like overemphasize it, like she would make her fat shake, just as a comedic thing. And I got to the point where I was just like, I feel like Nell Carter. Like I walk and everything shakes, and I look at YouTube videos and I'm like, I walk and I stop, but my ass is still going. It's just like, I can't deal with this.
Well, I told her, I said, I encouraged her, I said, Rome was not built in a day. And I was like, the Grand Canyon was made from time and pressure.
Yeah.
So, this didn't happen rapidly. I mean, when we got married, Audra was 97 pounds. They had to take a size 0 dress and alter it down to make it fit her because it was too big. So I was just like,
that was not a healthy weight for me.
No.
I was stressed.
You've gone from when you were younger, it was easy to keep off, and it's now older, so you just have to adjust. So.
Yeah. And then I found, that's one of the things I also found out, is that when you're in menopause, for women, it's actually called menobelly, because your body actually takes regular cells and turns them into fat cells, and usually right around your midsection.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, I'm trying to battle that. So yeah, she's disrespectful for sure.
You're getting there, so that's awesome. You've done great so far. So
thank you.
I'll say I noticed that YouTube, it exposes all my physical flaws very quickly.
Yeah.
Especially when you watch it every day and you watch yourself all the time. You're like, see, you got that bad posture, you got the sidebars.
Yeah.
I got the little belly showing when I relax.
And for me, it's like, I notice, and I hate it, and you'll probably notice it now when I say it, but when I talk, this one eyebrow always goes up, and it's like, why does it do it? And I don't even realize it, and I can't even stop it. Just like that one eyebrow just.
I told her she's Vulcan.
So funny. I talked to Chris when he's on YouTube or doing YouTube and talking in the truck. I'm like, I don't know where to look. So you just see me like looking all over the screen, looking at him. Like I don't want to be staring at you guys like for too long. YouTube definitely shows you like who you are.
Everything.
Yeah, it does. It has no hidden feature.
Yeah. YouTube is merciless.
Exactly. So, I mean, the one other thing I think I'm super curious about is you talked a little bit about your goals, like, going a new home and kind of growing the business. But what direction do you see yourself, you and Edgar, both of you, seeing yourself get into, or what more like will you add to your business? So I know, between businesses, some people go into, like Matt and JoJo, more of an education piece. They're still running the business, but they have an education side to it. Like Andrew has autopilot. Some people have YouTube. Some people do dumpster rentals. Some people are doing, I've heard you talk a little bit about organizing there's so many different, like Garrett and his wife do dumpster rentals. And so there's a lot of different avenues you can add on, or you can change completely too. So for you guys, what direction do you see yourself going into?
Well, like he said, the goal is that I would love to have him be full-time and my sons be full-time. And then he gets a dump truck, and then him and Solomon on the dump truck, and me and Aaron in the truck and the trailer. I would love to have that so that we can just, be able to tackle multiple jobs at the same time. I don't have a desire to, I keep getting contacted by the Economic Development Corporation. They're like, well, we have these programs and we'll give you money to train these teenagers, and then you can hire them full time. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want anybody outside on this. I want it to just be us. Okay. And just build that way. Everybody keeps telling me that I am an organizer in denial. And I know that I can organize, but I don't feel like I'm as good at it as organizers are. Yeah. And I've been just dipping my toes into it because I've had seniors who are downsizing and just really need that help with that final push to get the home ready for staging and staging photos and open houses. But I don't really want to get into that. I just want to get to where we have him on the dump truck, me in my truck, and we're doing jobs that way. And I've toyed with possibly maybe having roll-off dumpsters, but then that requires CDL license and all that. And I just, I don't know. For right now, I just want to get to the point where I can have everybody on board full time, and then I'll, reevaluate from there. So that's what I see. What about you?
No, exactly that. Neither one of us really have the, even with her background in education, neither one of us really have the desire to be teachers. We just want to run the business. That's why she's had people make suggestions about her YouTube channels, like, oh, your videos are great, but now you should talk about how you do this and how you do that. That's not the purpose. That's not the purpose of her YouTube channel. The purpose of her YouTube channel is kind of like SB Mowing. You ever seen his channel? Like, he's got millions of followers. Yeah. All SB Mowing. He doesn't teach people how to do landscaping. All he does is show people
clean yards.
What he does, and now he's got 8 million, subscribers or something like that, or 10 million subscribers.
Midlife stockman, because that's my thing. I love to watch midlife stockmen, and them. They take these abandoned yards and just clean them up. I love to watch that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's. I don't have a desire to teach people how to do junk removal. I don't want to be a junk removal coach. My YouTube channel is there for people who like to watch places go from dirty to clean. That's
smart. Yeah, that's a niche. Yeah, niche. Yeah. It definitely is. And so I think it makes sense kind of just doing what you enjoy. That way it doesn't just feel like you're doing it to get views or followers. You're just being genuine to yourself. So it's not my thing. I don't want to teach people how to get into junk removal because there's too many people getting into it. I just want That's a fact. Yes. So what's one of the most surprising things you've learned about yourself through this journey?
That no matter what age you are, it is never too late to go after a dream. And that not to give up on myself. Because it's been hard. I mean, I made okay money last year, but it's been very, very slow. I just went on an estimate today and have a very small job tomorrow. Actually went on 2 estimates today. Not sure about the other one yet, but it's been slow and it's frustrating because I'm doing all the things. I'm posting on social media. I'm going to network. I mean, my calendar is full of networking events, and I'm tired of it. I want some jobs, I want there to be a balance between the two, but not giving up on myself. The the fortitude that I've built and changing the way that I talk to myself has been the biggest surprise. I've always been hard on myself, but I have a vision board and I say my affirmations and I catch myself and how I spoke about myself before and how I speak to myself now. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. And that just came from knowing that I want to do something with this business and this is all I've got. I don't have a backup plan. So this has to work for me. And, just the fortitude that's come out of that, the resilience,
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, kind of answer my next question a little bit. Unless you switch it up a little. I've made one of these. Actually, I think I've made two of them because it always changes. If you can kind of go back to day one and meet yourself in person and say, hey, this is the advice I'd give you, whether it's mindset related or even just business related, like if it's marketing or if it's growth, what's something that you would tell yourself advice wise for business? Good or bad?
Not to listen to other people. If I have a dream, if I have something that I want to do, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And people are either going to fall in line or they aren't, because I wasted a lot of time in my life doing things that my parents wanted me to do, doing things that other people thought I should do. I always was very, very worried about what people thought and what the things that I did, what people thought about that. I have 3 college degrees, but he makes more money than I do, and I got those college degrees because it was what you were supposed to do, and the status. I was always worried about what people thought about the status of things, like you get the degree and you get the job and you that kind of thing. I was always worried about the wrong things. And if I could go back and tell myself, I would just tell myself not to listen to people and not to worry about what people think about what I do, because somebody's always going to be unhappy with what I do, no matter what. So just do what the hell I want to do. And those that are meant to be, still in my circle will still be there and everybody else will fall away. What about you?
Well, something I've always told her that it's just, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. I've been around for a little bit, but not to be vulgar, but I told her, I said, there's 2 types of people trying to help her with that struggle. And like I said, I can be a little bit more stern. There's 2 types of people in this world. The ones that pay your bills.
No, that's coming back.
And the ones that don't.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry?
We lost you guys. Sorry, that's our fault.
I was just saying that I told her, I said, when she's dealing with the struggle of caring what other people think, my philosophy that I've come to quite a while ago, it's kind of like the way I live my life. I said, there's 2 types of people in the world. Those that pay your bills and those that don't. And these people you don't care about. I was like, if you're not paying my bills or helping me pay my bills, your negative input is totally irrelevant to my life because you're a burden.
That's great advice.
You're not helping me. You're not helping me move forward.
And so I think once
I've seen that transformation in her. That even with her parents, relatives, friends, and stuff like that have had negative input, I'm like, don't listen to him.
Yeah.
She has a friend recently who is an author, a friend of hers that, we were at one of her book signings, and I had got right after 2 weeks after ChatGPT came out, because I'm in IT, it came out on November 30th, December 12th, I had Audra on it. I was like, you got to learn this. This is the future. And we had people in there, her author friends were just like, no, that's a terrible thing. And I afterwards, when Audra was feeling a little negative about it, because I tried to explain to him, I said, okay, you could be the type that shakes your fist at defiance at the base of that tsunami and gets crushed. Or you can grab your surfboard and ride the crest of success. And I was like, when you run into the people that are trying to drag you down and trying to help, get you crushed with them down at the base of the wave, again, shaking their fists in defiance. Just think of that parable. Just don't listen to them. Hop up on the wave, grab your board, hop on the wave, and don't worry about them. They're irrelevant.
That's truly when you will take the most opportunities, when you stop listening to other people, live your best life because you're living it for you, and nothing else really matters, and you make decisions based on you. And like you said, the people who do matter are the ones that either help pay bills or your loved close family, but otherwise everyone else is just.
And sometimes the close family is not, you have to just be careful who you share your goals and dreams with, because even those that are closest to you that love you, sometimes they're the ones that are, the worst offenders. Yeah.
So those are the ones. Those are the fine ones. Those are the ones I say. I'll tell Audra, those are the fine ones. But when I go to my in-laws' house and they ask me how my business is going, fine. When I go talk to my relatives, when I talk to my mom is kind of entrepreneurial, so I can talk about certain things. But when I talk to my brothers, how's everything going, Ed? Fine.
Yeah.
If you give them details, all they're going to do is just try to drag you down.
It's true.
Yeah, I've had one of my family members. We don't see him very often, but like I would say my second or third year in, after I had already left the moving business and everything, he's like, "Oh, how's the junk thing going?" I'm like, "You mean the whole house business I've been doing for 3 years? It's going well." He's like,
"Yeah," or they call it that little business. How's your little business going?
So it could be even with the best intentions. Like you said, my parents are really big on me going to school and getting my degree and going to like a job with benefits. So leaving all that was definitely like a big thing. And so I think it's important, that you're doing what's best for you. So.
Yeah, well, like at the last Thanksgiving gathering, my father-in-law was ripping me about not being a millionaire yet. And I was sitting there looking. I was like, "Well, between me and my wife, we did $350,000 last year. How'd you do, Doc?"
Yeah, retired and pinching
pennies, and freaking out about spending $20 for a parking space.
Yeah.
So
I hate parking too.
Leave me alone, man. And I just, you just get up and walk away. You just get up and walk away. You're not even going to engage that kind of energy. Just go away.
I agree.
Yep.
I'm just checking really quick to see if there's any more questions in the chat. I know Julian talked about getting a wrap for the trailer, and you guys had some, decent sized investments to the start of the business. And we have junk removal companies from, putting a ton of money in from the get, and they have that liquid cash, and that's great if they can kind of go from there. And then some people who have to start with just a truck, like you had your truck, you started with your truck, and that's okay too. And you can grow into the rest. So I think there's pros and cons to both sides. And so it's something, never feel like you're in competition with everyone else. You can provide great service and get just as many jobs, just starting small. And it's about creating relationships with clients, meeting the right people, and connecting the right way to the right opportunities.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely not trying to. At the expo, it seemed like there were a lot of people that were trying to be Matt and JoJo instant.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna go buy 2 dump trucks tomorrow. Like you realize they've been doing this for like 8 years.
No. Exactly. People see other people's success and think it happened in a day, and they don't see that journey.
Sarah.
Yes, Sarah asked, what jobs are your favorite type?
Everything's out on the curb or in the garage, ready to be picked up.
That's him. There are days when that's my favorite type. Clean outs, I think I like. My kids hate it, but I like the clean outs. As long as they're not. I haven't had any that have been too crazy. I did have my first hoarder estimate, and he didn't want to pay the price, and I was just like, well, I can't, because the house smelled. There was just trash everywhere. We were going to have to.
It was a hazmat situation.
Yeah, we were going to have to start at the door with shovels just to be able to get into the house. So, but I'm not sure if I would have enjoyed that one, but I do like clean outs. I think I like clean outs. But when it's hot, I like everything's in the garage and you just throw it in and go.
Aaron's much happier with the dump trailer now.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. I know Sarah's gonna laugh at this, but any job that doesn't have bugs is one of my
You're in Florida.
Yeah,
I know.
With those bugs.
I don't like them.
You got like bugs and like iguanas and all kinds
See, I don't mind iguanas. I don't mind like the lizards that pop out, of the chair. That's fine. I don't like the bugs. I mean, if they're dead, I'm okay. But I know when there's a dead one, there's probably an alive one somewhere around the corner. I don't like pulling a blanket out of the closet and things falling. Like that's my biggest fear. And so.
But you have a garden. You're gardeners. You're gonna deal with bugs.
Chris is a gardener.
Oh.
I just cook with them.
Okay.
I don't. No,
so he grows it, you cook it.
Yes, exactly. You won't find me outside.
I don't mind the bugs, the spiders, the cockroaches. I don't like lizards though, or like frogs. So.
Yeah, I just remember that time I saw that video, and I was like, "Do you realize there was a lizard in the back of your truck while you were talking the whole time?"
I remember that video.
It
was just like back there going back and forth, and I was like, "Oh my God, how is he staying calm right now?"
Because he doesn't know. Half the time he doesn't even know. I'll be like, I don't even tell him because
it's the same thing with bugs. She could be carrying a box and there's a cockroach on the front side of it, but she can't see it.
I'm getting better though. I'm getting a lot better. I don't freak out as loud because the customer's there. So I'll just look at Chris and he'll know. He'll see it in my face that I'm like, it's a bug. Or he'll see me walk away. And he'll just know I'm not touching that area anymore.
Thankfully, I haven't dealt with too many bugs.
God, they're all over in Florida. They're all. It can be a clean house. Like it's not even about people's cleanliness. It's just they like to exist here.
Yeah.
Maryland's not tropical, so it's not as prevalent here.
Yeah.
Hey, Landover, we're in Glen Burnie. You're not that far from us.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments you want to make, Audra?
No, I mean, just, I appreciate you guys having me on. And, Chris, thank you so much. I've told you this before, but, I watched a lot of your videos and you gave priceless tips, that came in very handy when we first started, like taking the back off the recliner and, getting the mattress bars and we did all of that. When I started, I had mattress bars, I had the hand truck, the dolly. I went through your video of everything you needed to have, and I got the rubber bands, all of it. So, thank you, because you were, Matt and JoJo were, yes, they were instrumental, but as far as like the mechanics of it, the techniques, you were highly instrumental in us being successful in our first year. And you gave me the confidence to be able to do those things like moving couches and tipping them and all of that stuff that you taught. That was invaluable to us, because we didn't have any idea how to move any of that. So you're giving a valuable service, and your videos are, top notch. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys. That's awesome. I love hearing that about him.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. Well,
I think,
I think that's a wrap.
Okay. Well, thank you for having us on. We really enjoyed it.
It was great talking to you guys.
Can't wait to see you guys.
I was going to say, we're so excited to see you and everyone else. Anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure everyone in the junk industry knows, there's the Junk Expo coming this October over in California, being hosted by Matt and JoJo. There will be some really amazing people there. If you were there last year, the speaking was awesome. We have a lot of those same people and more this year. So if you haven't yet, make sure to go to junkexpo.com is the website. We'll put a link on one of our YouTube videos, and make sure to buy your tickets before they run out.
Yeah.
We already have ours?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. Excited to see you. You'll see both of us. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Audra.
You too. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night.
You too.